Zachary, there's a great buzzword doing the rounds right now, and that's this term, candidate experience. I think I know what it means. I hear the term and it makes sense, but let's bounce it around a little bit. How do you interpret this term?
Well, it's interesting, and so the experience that a candidate has when they're applying to work at your company. So just as you might think it means what we think it means, is that what you thought it means?
Maybe.
Okay. So the candidate experience, more and more companies are measuring the experience that the candidate has and really taking that to heart to say, if we posted a position had 14,000 people apply, it's not just about the experience that those 5 people that got an interview had, and where we can actually have that one-on-one conversation and interaction with them, where maybe we're bringing them into our corporate office, or the experience that hire has. In the past, when we did a customer satisfaction survey, and the customer being the candidate or the hire, we interviewed or asked the hire for information on the process. Well, they were darn happy they got a job. So for them, the process was pretty good, right?
Yep.
But candidates
clearly a very accurate selection process.
Saying, absolutely, this is a sound process. You picked me, and you made the right choice. But we're recognizing that, you know what, when we've talked about the importance of brand advocates and your brand in the marketplace. If I'm posting this position and 14,000 people apply, they're most likely potential customers or current customers. So the experience that they have with our company, whether they get an interview or not, is really important. And it's nice to see that a lot of companies, and through some formal research that a group's doing now and actually putting together for the last 2 years, this candidate experience report and survey, there's some really neat data that's coming out of it. And it's not just about how do we improve that candidate experience to ensure that the process is a more pleasant one for employees, and you do that through things like as a recruiter applying for my own position or positions of my company. And it's surprising when you talk to people how many recruiters have never done that. And you say, well, what's it like to go through the application process? How do you apply online? Well, we have a link on our site. Well, show it to me. And it takes them a minute to navigate and find you. Gosh, you've never applied to your own position, have you? So that's a part of it. I really like what the folks that are focusing on this candidate experience survey and research report are doing, because they're applying to a position at each of the Fortune 500 companies.
Right.
And what great research could come from that to go, okay, I applied 500 times to these Fortune 500, so they should have their stuff together. They should know what they're doing, or you would think so. And what does that experience look like? So it's not just about how you're measuring an actual experience, but they're doing some really neat research and benchmark to go, and here's what we found. One thing I thought was interesting, mobile recruiting. And you've heard about mobile recruiting, and everyone's got a phone or 2 phones, and mobile recruiting must be something that every company should be doing, needs to be doing, and all the good companies are doing it, right? Well, it was interesting when they did this research, less than 50 companies on the Fortune 500 list were utilizing or had a mobile app to apply.
I just did the sum. That's less than 10%.
Spot on. And so, but what that tells me is, goes, okay, so again, it goes back to you doing the research to understand what you need to do, or are you, because you have a thought or someone tells you, oh my gosh, we got to have mobile. Everyone's doing mobile. Well, is everyone really doing it? Or this select group doing it because it makes sense in their market?
I think it's great, what you just described about real people making those applications, because it's almost like a counter push against technology's become such a huge component of the recruiting space in the last 15 years. It's, ever since job boards first started coming in and applicant tracking systems started really hitting mainstream, none of those Fortune 500 companies would not be using some sort of applicant tracking product in that mix, and various other bits of technology plugged into it. So I love the idea of a fight back, a real human fight back, and actually assessing, well, what's the real human experience going through this thing? Because for those, as we've discussed in other topics today, as you get more and more skill shortages in those key markets that you're trying to recruit for, people just aren't going to put up with the experience they're receiving. So it becomes it's a business critical issue to be addressing.
Well, I think it all comes back to, you said the buzzword and the term you're hearing in the industry, the candidate experience. I think it comes back to one word and one competency that we take for granted sometimes, is communication. And in starting recruitment and entering the industry 20 years ago, that was a big part of training for recruiters. Communication skills, verbal, how do I manage a counteroffer, how do I close a candidate, how do I effectively write a job ad, back in the day. And we spent some time on those communication skills. Today, it's all about just immediately going right to the tools and not taking a step back to understand how to use them. And one of the things as well, if I remember correctly from a candidate experience, it's back to that basic one-on-one communication. And a candidate, whether they get the job or not, they just want to be communicated to. They just want to be told what's going on. So if I apply for this position, what happens next? If I'm not qualified or if I don't go down to the next step, are you going to let me know? And when would that be? And how will you let me know? And we just don't take a step back to do something that probably doesn't cost us any money, just a little bit of time. In the long run, it just really helps to ensure that we're doing the right things to ensure that there's a positive candidate experience for our companies or the positions we're recruiting for.